one of the things that we give a lot of thought to is how do we elicit opinions from people either before the meeting or in the room. In the last couple of years, we've used electronic polling fairly extensively in the meeting. So each attendee will have a small keypad in front of them, a question will be asked on the screen, and they press a button on the keypad, and instantly we see the results of the poll on the screen. So what we find is that this is useful for a lot of reasons. First, it allows us very quickly to take the temperature in the room. Where are we? Where's the group aligned? Where are they not aligned? So that we know whether or not we actually need to spend time on this specific question. So it could be that you get a good chunk of the room that answers a 5 or a 6, but some chunk of the room is actually a 2 or a 3 on a 1 to 9 scale. So we know there's a part of the room that's not in agreement, right? That feels differently about, and it could be 2 people, it could be 20 people, but ultimately there's a conversation to be had there if your objective is to garner alignment or at least to understand where the differing opinions are. The second reason that we like electronic polling is that it actually allows us very quickly to tee up any question in the room that we'd like to know and figure out whether or not it warrants a discussion that we may or may not be able to predict before the meeting. The third reason is it allows us to take a little bit of the group or the CEO bias out of the room, let's call it, so that the results of every vote are displayed simultaneously. So it's not a case of people seeing where the group is going or where the CEO is moving. They can actually provide their perspective. It's anonymous, so that we don't know who voted how in the room. Now, typically what happens is that once you start to see the responses, people will say, well, I answered a 3 and here's why. But the reason they do that is because they can see that they may not be the only person that feels like, it's a 3, right, in terms of whatever question is that we're asking. So ultimately, electronic polling provides a quick way for us to take the temperature in the room, get a conversation started, understand where we need to spend our time, and doing that all relatively quickly, that allows people to get their opinions on the table in a way that's not threatening, it's anonymous, and really jumpstarts the conversation, the dialogue in a group of 5 or a group of 500. The last key point around electronic polling is that it's fun, you see the results quickly, but it's important to think about and have someone in the room that, regardless of what the answer set actually shows on the screen, knows how to handle the facilitation of the responses. So for example, if you have a group of 10 people and 9 people are in a 6 or a 7 range, but one person actually is a 2 or a 3, the facilitator needs to know how to handle that. Because there's a conversation to be had there, even if one person actually feels differently than the rest, you now have that data. So let's make sure to actually call out in a way that's not threatening to that individual, of course, but that ultimately gets the opinion of people on the table as to why would someone actually rate this a 1 or a 2, notwithstanding the fact that others in the room feel differently. So electronic polling is a good way to quickly gauge where people are and use that as fodder for a quick conversation about a certain topic.